after that speech with Democratic presidential hopeful Joe Biden in Delaware. Just a short while ago, in fact, so I'm sure world and global reaction are going to be coming in throughout the day. Let's get the latest situation for you on the U.S. now, from over in the U.S., over to our correspondent Jagruti Dave in Washington for us.
Jagruti, thank you so much for joining us. It would be just after 11 p.m. your time on the East Coast, where you are in Washington, D.C. But who is keeping track of time in the U.S. Right now? It's been that kind of week, hasn't it? Just a few moments ago, we heard that speech from Joe Biden. Many people saying in the moments that he has spoken since election night on Tuesday, he's taken a far calmer approach to speaking to the nation, of course, as opposed to sitting President Donald Trump. The speech has just ended. What are the major points that were made there by Joe Biden in Delaware?
Yes, well, I think Joe Biden was expecting to make some kind of a victory speech, but of course the networks here haven't declared because those votes are still trickling in, and I think networks are being cautious. They want to make sure that the margin is such that there can be no doubt of what the result is. And you know, in notes to reporters, the Biden campaign said that that Joe Biden was wanting to be presidential, and really his message was that they don't have victory yet, but they will win the race. He said he expects to get over 300 electoral college votes, and he turned it to the pandemic after talking about rebuilding the blue wall. He is talking about Wisconsin, Michigan. We're waiting to see what happens in Pennsylvania, but he is in the lead there. And as I say, he quickly turned to talk of the pandemic, exuding that empathy that he has used a lot in speeches and the debates that he has given as that kind of that real character definition that the campaign wanted to project to him, project of him. And he said that we're not waiting to get the work done, saying that as soon as they enter the new administration, they are going to work on the pandemic. He also said, interestingly, striking a tone of unity, saying that we may be opponents, but we are not enemies, and also referring to the controversies around the vote count, the divisions in the country around vote counting. He said, democracy is working, your vote will be counted.
Jagruti, let's focus a little bit on the reaction, as I'm sure the entire world is watching what Donald Trump is going to say in reaction to this speech in Delaware. Just before I ask if there has been any reaction from the Republicans yet, just to remind our viewers, it's essentially the road to 270. It's this golden number that everyone is looking at as far as the vote counting concerned. According to one of the international websites, Joe Biden currently 253 and Donald Trump 213, that key number of 270, just to keep our viewers in the loop there. So what has the reaction been, if any, from the Trump camp? Because one of the latest tweets from Trump says, and I quote, Joe Biden should not wrongfully claim the office of president. I can also make that claim. Legal proceedings are now just beginning. This seems to be his tone, his rhetoric. He's going to fight this every single step of the way.
Well, that tweet was sent when I think we thought that that at least Joe Biden thought that he might be giving a victory address. But you know, that tweet talking about claiming victory. Of course, we know that candidates don't claim victory; they get over that 270 threshold that you were just talking about. And there is a real sense in the White House that there's a small group of people who are thinking that President Trump should fight this all the way. There are other aides who are perhaps resigned to the very real possibility that this is the end of the Trump administration, that they will be leaving the White House. One of those, interestingly, who is reportedly urging the president to fight on is his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, who, in some breaking news in the last few moments, we are hearing has contracted COVID-19 along with one of his senior aides. So, you know, this is an election and the results with twists and turns continuing to emerge. It's unclear, also according to reporting, whether President Trump will indeed concede if that time comes where the networks declare for Joe Biden.
Now, the margins at the moment are extremely tight, but it's also not the first time that they've been quite tight. I think I remember in 2016 there were certain of those very battleground states or swing states that Hillary Clinton lost by 20,000 to just over 20,000, 15,000 votes and that kind of thing. That, of course, played itself out a little differently. One of the big stories of the last few days is, of course, Georgia, the state of Georgia, flipping blue for the first time in a very long time, but by a very, very small margin. And I do believe, according to some reports, that a recount is already underway. Do you have anything new on that process? And how long do we understand that would take place?
Yeah, we are just waiting at the moment. As you say, that margin in Georgia, around 4,300 votes, was the lead that Joe Biden took, and so that is below a threshold that calls for a recount. So that that is taking place. Again, we are just waiting. We're not sure exactly timeframes for that Georgia recount, but we're also waiting on that Pennsylvania count to come through, which we're hearing that is likely now to come tomorrow. We were expecting it today, but Pennsylvania, it's in general, the postal votes that are coming in take longer to count, but Pennsylvania has different rules, as each state has different rules on how they count the votes. And in Pennsylvania, the legislature has determined that votes can only be counted on election day. So this is why we are seeing Pennsylvania take its time to count, because there are other states that can start counting before election day, again, depending on the rules. So, it's not just Georgia that we're waiting on. We're waiting on Pennsylvania. We're waiting to hear from Arizona.
And I think this is why the world finds American politics so fascinating, because of the way the different rules are within each state and what that means for the final count. Jagruti Dave over in Washington for us. Thank you very much. Indeed, a busy few